Hello everyone, this is teacher Liu Shuai from Fountain Education. Today I will show you a very important question type in NMOS, that is proportional problem. Okay, let's see this question. 7 years ago, David's age was 25% of his sister's age. 3 years later, David's age will be 50% of his sister's age. How many years later will it be? David's age is 75% of his sister's age. Alright, after we reading this question, we may feel confused because there are many percentages here, such as 25%, 50%, and 75%. And there are also many time points here, 7 years ago, 3 years later. So to make us feel clear, we can draw a timeline. Look at this. This is a timeline. And we can also use some points to represent the time point in the question. For example, this point represents 7 years ago, and this represents now, and this represents 3 years later. And the question also involves two main characters, that is David and his sister. Okay, let's see the question. 7 years ago, David's age was 25% of his sister's age. So we can say the ratio of David's age to his sister's age was 1:4. So we can find that David's age was 1 part, and sister's age was 4 parts. Okay. 3 years later, David's age will be 50% of his sister's age. So the ratio of David's age to his sister's age will be 1:2. So we can say David's age will be 1 part, and sister's age will be 2 parts. Okay, but what should we do then? We can think about it. David's age and his sister's age are changing, so it's hard for us to analyze it. But which quantity is invariant in this question? You can think about it. Yes, this is the difference between David's age and sister's age. Okay, 7 years ago, we can say the difference between the two guys was 4 parts minus 1 part. That is 3 parts. And 3 years later, the difference between two guys, 2 parts minus 1 part. That is 1 part. Okay, here comes a problem. We know that the difference in 7 years ago and 3 years later are all the same, but the same difference with different parts, 3 parts, 1 part. So we need to unify them. We can change this 1 part into 3 parts. Okay. 1 part into 3 parts. So David's age will be 3 parts, and sister's age in 3 years later will be 6 parts. Alright? Okay. So we can find that David's age was increased by 3 parts minus 1 part. That is 2 parts. And we can also find that from 7 years ago to 3 years later, there are 10 years. Okay, we can write it here. So 2 parts represents 10 years. Then how about 1 part? Okay, 1 part represents 5 years. So we can say 7 years ago, David was 5 years old. And sister was 20 years old. So now, David is 12 years old and sister is 27 years old. Okay. But the question is, how many years later will it be? David's age is 75% of his sister's age. We can suppose that n years later. And David's age will be 75% of his sister's age. So we can say that the ratio of David's age to his sister's age will be 3 to 4. Which means David's age will be 3 parts. And his sister's age will be 4 parts. So the difference between the 2 guys will be 1 part. Alright, so we meet the same problem. Okay, so we should do what we did before to unify the difference. So we can change this 1 part into 3 parts. 3 parts. And we can also change this 3 parts into 9 parts. These 4 parts into 12 parts. Okay, we know that 1 part represents 5 years. So, n years later, David will be 45 years old. So the answer, we can get it. 45 minus 12, that is 33 years old. Okay, this is a question. We have finished it. Alright, let's do the summary. First, in the proportional problem, we can find the invariant to help us analyze the question. Second, graphic analysis can make us clear. Alright, finally, I will also give you a homework. Try it. 5 years ago, the age ratio of elder brother to younger brother was 7 to 5. 7 years later, the age ratio will be 5 to 4. What's the age difference of them? Okay, you can think about it. Alright, today's video is over. If you like us and want to get more information about the Singapore Math Olympiad, you can subscribe us and like us. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.